Thank you for joining us today and welcome. If this is your first time with us, the Women in Trucking Association is a nonprofit organization with the mission to champion the employment and advancement of women in trucking, foster connections, and recognize achievements. We are founded on the belief that the industry is stronger when women are supported, visible, and advancing in every role. Over the years, that belief has been carried forward by a dedicated leadership team and sustained through the energy of our members, sponsors, and partners. Today, we're proud to be a growing community of business professionals and professional drivers who share a commitment to that mission and to strengthening the future of trucking together. And with that, I'll pass it over to Marina to get us started today. Thanks for being here, Marina.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be partnering with Women in Trucking. So excited. So for those of you who have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Marina Mayer. I'm the co-founder of the Women in Supply Chain Forum. I also serve as editor-in-chief of our supply chain brands, Food Logistics and Supply and Demand Chain Executive. And most of you know us through our awards programs like our Pros to Know Awards, Rock Stars of the Supply Chain, our Top 3PL, and our coveted Women in Supply Chain Forum Award. So I'm very excited to be here and be a part of this program. And I'm going to pass things over to you, Jenny.
Thanks, Marina. My name is Jenny Fall. I am the Director of Driver Engagement here at Women in Trucking, and I'm very excited to lead this conversation with Marina today. Part of my role here at Women in Trucking is also managing our mentorship program, our WIT Connections, as we call it. We've got several different ways that you can get involved, which we'll talk about kind of throughout this call. I really am excited to hear from Marina and really how your experience and has shaped your vision of what mentorship and networking looks like. We can always use some extra zhuzh and some extra advice on making sure that we're successful when we're out there. So to get started, generically, what does mentorship mean to you personally? And really, how has your view of it evolved over the time that you've been in your different roles?
So that's a great question because I feel like everybody looks at mentorship as one singular way. It is a person who has been in the industry for a long period of time who can pass their knowledge and journey on to the young generation. And as I've been a part of this advocacy program and community to promote women in supply chain for all the years that I've been doing this, and since launching the forum, I've learned that it is a two-way street. It's not just the industry veterans that are passing their knowledge on. It's these younger generation females coming in who just got out of college or they just started out in the professional world, and they have a lot to offer and a lot to teach. And I think mentorship now is just everybody at all stages of life, all ages, all backgrounds, all titles and skill sets. And I think that's so important for everybody to know because it shouldn't be a one-way street. We should be learning from others, regardless of where we are. Just keep learning, just keep educating. So I think it's a two-way street. And one of the reasons why we make it such an important topic in our Women in Supply Chain Forum.
I think that's really so important. So that's really why we started a new part of our internal program. So we had a one-on-one mentorship program. And I will tell you, there's a couple people when you would ask if they could be a mentor, it's like, oh no, I can't be that person. You know, it's very intimidating. So last year now, we created networking groups. So we have now member-led groups where one of our Women in Trucking members stand up and lead a call with 8 to 10 other members to really kind of make those connections and make those mentor relationships. So I totally agree with you. It's just really in the give and take. So it's all that connection, I think, is so important.
So important.
So as you think, was there a moment or a mentor or we'll talk about the word sponsor later, that really changed the direction of your career?
I wouldn't say that there's a specific person. I think the moment was when I launched the Women in Supply Chain Forum Award. It was during COVID. So it was 2020. A lot of women were at home, like men. So I'm not just going to single out the women who were doing a lot of different jobs. Their real job that paid them money. And then they were also controlling the e-learning aspect of their kids, trying to maneuver and navigate life from your home without being able to leave and go in store somewhere. And so I almost put the award off because I'm like, oh, everybody is so busy. We don't have time for this. And then I thought, you know what? What better time to celebrate women in supply chain than right now? So I launched the award. And over the years, I've had so many women come to me and say, that nomination that I sent you changed my life. And I don't really look at it like that. I look at it like, oh, they did a great job. They have a lot of achievements. They're doing wonderful things. But these women, just to be heard, just to be seen, just to be valued, that was the light bulb moment for me, because that's when I learned, wait, this really is important. There is nothing like this going on. People are doing so many things and they want to be elevated in their business. They're, overqualified for their job, but they're getting passed over. It's just, we're all kind of in the same boat. And so that was the light bulb moment that we needed to really work together as a female community, lean on each other, help each other, advocate for each other, and support each other. Because at some point in time, we need that and we need each other. And I think it's important that women understand how to advocate for themselves too. Know that it's the whole stereotype of I'm bragging and I'm doing this. That's not what's going on here. You have earned your stripes. We talked about that offline. Like, you've earned your stripes, and celebrate it. And who better to know what you do all day than you?
But do you find that folks are more intimidated by talking about themselves? It's like doing a job interview,
Yeah, I do. And for women, I feel like it's so hard. And trust me, I'm right there too. Like, people come to me and they say, "Oh, I want you to be on here because I value what you do." And I'm like, "Me? Are you talking about me?" And I think we kind of all have that little syndrome where it's like the imposter syndrome of, I don't know that I can do that. I don't know that I can make that happen. But at the end of the day, we all can. We just need to be vulnerable. We just need to shed our layers a little bit, put ourselves out there a little bit, and own it. And I think that's what's part of it. But yeah, you're right, Jenny. There's not a lot of that, and I'm hoping that we continue to work together to make that more of a possible.
Well, I think calls like this are really important too.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I don't. A couple of years ago, I didn't think I'd ever be in, doing this. So, talking with you and sharing those experiences.
Absolutely. Well, I think just organizations joining hands. When I launched the forum, it was never about doing this with others. It was just, I'm going to do it because there's nothing like that out there. And I want to provide this in-person space. And then the more people I got to know, I was like, well, there are things out there like this, like Women in Trucking Association. It's not the exact same thing, but it has the same cause. So why would we all not work together to build the same cause? And I think that's what has been super enlightening.
I totally agree with you. Kind of on that same vein, when we talk about building that personal brand, really owning who we are, what can that really mean for someone early in their supply chain career, even if they don't feel like they have to showcase it yet or at that space?
Yeah, I think that's a fabulous question, and I hope I do it a little bit of justice here, because I don't think I know the secret sauce just yet. But I will say to all of the young professionals that I've met that come to the forum and continue to message me on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm looking for a job change, who do you have? I think it's important for a lot of these women to just know that there is no wrong answer. There is no wrong way to do this. There's nobody policing us on what we should and should not be doing. Take the risk. Try it. Worst case, somebody says no, or they say not right now, and that's okay. Then look at it like, well, that's meant to be. That's how it's supposed to be, so we move on. And there's so many award winners that, we highlight that in they highlight it in their nomination, but we celebrate it when we share the award, because it is important for people to understand, especially young women, that it's okay to throw yourselves to the wolves, so to speak, and then just see what happens. You never know.
I totally agree. One of my favorite sayings is the answer is always no if you don't ask or if you don't do it. So if it's no after you do, it was going to be no before anyway. So like you said, what is there to lose? Put yourself out there.
There's nothing to lose.
I love that. So how can women in general, early in their career, later in their career, make sure they're visible and recognized for their work without feeling like they're over promoting themselves, like we talked about a little bit earlier?
I have talked to so many people about this, because there is a lot of, I guess, I don't want to say controversy, but I use that word because it's like we have women who are like, I want to talk with the CEO, so I pull them to the side. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people misconstrue that as something that it's not, and that's unfortunate. Then you have women who come to me and say, well, I continue to raise my hand, I continue to participate in this, and there's no ROI out of it. And I think there's a point in time where if you're a young woman and the opportunity just continues to pass you by, you're in the wrong place. You need to find a new job. You need to find people who support you, who listen to you, who take care of you. So we did this year one in our forum, and that was kind of like the messaging. And I kid you not, like 6 months later, I had 5 people message me, because of you, I changed my jobs. And here's me like, well, that's not what I wanted. But if you were unhappy and now you're happy, that's perfect. That's all I ask for. So I think it's just evaluating, stepping back and evaluating what you want, what you deserve, what you need, and why. And then what if you can't get to that point in a certain time frame, set goals for yourself, then move on. Find somebody who will help you.
That's really good advice and scary advice, I think.
Yeah, it is scary.
But also you don't grow where you're not watered. So they say, I'm using quotes all hour, but if no one's helping you move ahead, because I think you always need that person on the other side that sees your potential and is willing to kind of have those opportunities, or an employer, like you mentioned, has a specific plan to help people succeed. I think that's really important. Kind of on the same vein here, when I'm in trucking, I noted that I work directly with our driver members, and they might have a little bit different challenges. So different things that they could do is become, trainers, or become a member of our image team, or do something talking to people, or being that mentor. Have you any advice for maybe on the driver side specifically that women can do?
We've had a couple drivers of private fleets that have won awards in the past, and they were kind of in the same boat. Like, they were kind of on their own. How do you balance work life? I have kids, I have a family. How do you do all that? I think a lot of it is just making sure that you land with a company that shares your values and shares your beliefs and cultivates that where you need it. Because there's many companies out there who honor a lot of those things. They just don't talk about it a lot, because it's something that is important to them, but they don't need to advertise it. And so I think it's just about, again, going back to what I said earlier, just finding a company that shares what you want out of it as well. And I think a lot of people hear the word trucking and they think, oh, I'm never going to be home, I'm on the road a lot.
Yes.
They hear the I don't want to say it's negative, but that's their only perception of it. And there's so much more to it. And I think it's just, for those women, find folks in the industry, talk to folks like yourself and folks in the Women in Trucking members who, who have a different viewpoint.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. And I think that works with, both drivers and other roles. Like you mentioned earlier, you find that person, ask questions. You don't know what the other side is if you don't know.
Exactly.
So what do you think the real difference is between networking and building a relationship with a mentor? Again, that mentor word is intimidating.
Yeah, that's a great question. I get that a lot from people who are trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing next. And I look at mentorship as you find a person, and it doesn't have to be one person. It can be 3 people that you lean on significantly for life-changing advice. Not so much personal, but definitely professional. Hi, I'm saw this job online. I don't know what to do. Should I apply for it? Do you think I'm good for it? Do you know anybody there? But then that leads into the networking. Half the time in supply chain, as we all know, it's very incestuous. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's worked for somebody, alongside somebody, with somebody. And so networking is so key for anybody in the industry. I don't care if you're looking for a job or not, because a lot of times it is who you know. It's, can you put in a good word for me, or can you at least get me in the door, and I'll take it from there. And I think networking is so powerful. I think tools like LinkedIn are so powerful. I think places and associations like WIT and like the forum and other associations that we partner with is so important, because they provide those member opportunities that you can kind of take advantage of to build your networking journey. And then from there, pick out a mentor or two that relates to you, that you see yourself in, and vice versa, and they become your person in the industry.
And then you can kind of keep the other folks in your peripheral, as in help. And I will tell you, I actually had a conversation just today with a colleague saying how important associations like WIT and the forum are for creating those networking opportunities and connections. That's one of my favorite things, is making a connection and kind of watching that go up. And then like, okay, this is cool. So how do you think like events like your event or our Accelerate conference, which is taking place in Dallas in October this year, turn into actual mentorship instead of just, we all bring home the stacks of business cards, put them in a thing, put them in a closet at home. How do we really cultivate what we get from those?
I think something that both organizations do well is even though we have the in-person event, it doesn't just stop at the in-person event. You go home, there's so many opportunities to be a part of educational webinars, to be a part of networking conversations, to be a part of little mini subgroups. And I'm not going to speak on behalf of WIT, but here at the forum, we do cultivate that a lot. We do check in every couple months with the folks that attended. Hey, how are you doing? What can we help you with? We'd love ideas from you as we build out the next session. We do a survey, and a lot of our forum topics are built strictly from the feedback we get, because these are women who are like, I loved this conference, but here's what I now need. I was able to achieve what I wanted, but now I need something else or something more. And so I think the in-person aspect of our organizations is fantastic, but I think it's the ongoing conversations that we continue to cultivate throughout the year that make it also more impactful. It's not just the one time a year, okay, goodbye, you guys are in October, we're in November. So, then everybody goes off to the holidays and it's like, well, I don't remember what I did last year. Well, you did. You came to our associations, met a lot of great people. Let's chat. So
I agree. We really try to do that same thing. And I think one of my favorite things is when we all regroup as a team after the event. Is like, okay, what does everybody say? What have you been hearing? How do we make it better next year? And one of the things we heard was we want to have this feeling all year long. Like, okay,
yes.
How do we do that? So the brains are turning and the wheels are going, which I'm sure you hear the same thing. When you leave such an impactful event, nobody wants to leave, but they have to. Right. So we have to figure out, especially when we're all virtual. I know it's so I'm interested to see kind of where you guys go after your conference as well, and your event, to see how you touch point with those various members you have.
Yes.
Are you a membership association as well?
So we are not a membership association. We are strictly through registration. And then obviously we have the brands, which, we have advertising opportunities for. But then we also have a lot of awards programs and interview opportunities. And so that's where the conversation keeps going, because I'll meet somebody who has kind of a great story to tell. And I'm like, you know what? You'd be fantastic for this. Give me your card. I will file it, and I will make sure to follow up when we need to have this conversation. So I've generated a lot of content based off of the people that I meet in person at these events, because, you go to these events and it's like, you do all these things and you come home and you're like, I don't even remember what I just did. I'm sure everybody on attending is like that. You go home and it's almost like the brain fog of everything. Absolutely. And I think it's important to just, revisit that and say, okay, I really want to pick your brain on this because you mentioned it, but we couldn't really talk about it. So, but yeah, I think it's important.
Yeah, definitely. And that follow-up is, instead of putting the stack of business cards in the closet and putting it behind me, because that's where it is. But you need that follow-up and really that engagement afterwards to keep it going. So what do you think? I know as we talk about the mentoring, networking, even especially at these in-person events, what do you give advice to someone who's really nervous about approaching that potential mentor or even peer for the first time?
Yeah, I will attest. I'm one of those introverted extroverts. So I know that, hey, you co-founded the forum, you're in front of people, you love people. Sometimes I want to crawl into a hole in the bathroom and never come out. And I think that's fair for all of us to come out and admit and say, because not all of us are always on and can do that. And I think for people in that position, I think, for me, if you are somebody and you are coming to my Women in Supply Chain Forum and you are in that position, find me. I will put you with the right person that you need to, and you'll have like 250 friends by the time you leave, whether you like it or not. And I think it's important that we all need to recognize that that is an okay attribute to have, and that it's okay to admit that, and it's okay to go to these things alone and absorb information, but understand that, you know, it can be very overwhelming. One of the sessions on our agenda is this mentorship program. And I know it sounds very broad because it's like, great, another mentorship, but it's intentional because I had a lot of people come to me and say, I need a mentor, but I don't know who to talk to, and I don't know how to start the conversation because I'm shy. And like, I know who they are. They're the people that sit in the very, very back. And then the minute Q&A comes up, they go out, they get a drink, and then they come back in, and it's very quiet. So I know who they are. And so I'm matchmaking them behind the scenes with somebody who I think would be a very good person for them to have in their Rolodex. And I know I just aged myself. If there's younger people on there, that was a thing. But I think it's important to recognize those introverts and those shy people, and they still need love too, and they still need to be taken care of. I just think it's, you know, find the person that you can admit that to, and then go from there. So for me, find me. I will lead you to somebody who will take care of you.
So it sounds like you have two buckets of people, you know, the introverted and the extrovert, so you can pull from.
We definitely, the extroverts that come, I love them dearly. They come, they're loud, they're excited. They've been up all morning. They've had 10 cups of coffee. They're like, let's get going. And then, you know, but I love them dearly because they provide that energy that I think a lot of people need to feed off of.
Oh, I totally agree. And I think we all know those people in those different roles. And I think having that intentional outreach for you, I think that's amazing, especially for the folks that are at any event for the first time, especially if you're young in your career. That's a difficult thing to pop into someone's circle, you know, or like,
especially with a bunch of women. And I know that sounds bad saying coming from somebody who's advocating for women, but like, you know, I put myself as a young female coming to these shows, and I was usually the only female covering the show. It was, you know, that's just how it was. It's part of why I'm so passionate about this. But just trying to figure out how to start the conversation or integrate yourself into a group of people that clearly have known each other for 10 years. They know each other's kids' names. They know where each other lives. You know, this is their kind of like reunion. It is very hard for, I think, anybody to integrate yourselves into a situation like that. So, you know, I've just learned, you know, I wish I had somebody readily available that I could be like, hi, I don't know anybody. Can you introduce me? That mountains for so many people.
Totally agree. And we experience the same thing. And really on that same vein, what does being your own best advocate actually look like day to day? Because I think you need to be in order to be effective in approaching that peer or that potential mentor.
I tell people, and I do this myself, to keep a list. Every time you've achieved something, make a list. Like keep the resume updated. Not like you're going to apply for a job, but just keep it updated so that you can go back and go, look at all these things I did this year. You know, here you go. And don't just have a bullet point. Have data, have results, have information or an example. Because when it is time to go in and say, I need a raise or I'm good for that job, you have proof. It's not just you spinning wheels. Like, I think in March I did this. No, you definitely in March did this. It's on your list. So I always tell people, make a list. I do it myself. And I think it's so important because 8 months can go by and you can forget that you did this fantastic thing because you've already moved on and you're doing another fantastic thing. Well, you forget that you did 2 fantastic things in 1 year. So keep a list, keep a notebook, and just keep writing things down.
That's really great advice. And that it reminds me of something that happened when I was in a prior job. A former colleague of mine, she was going for promotion, and she's like, I just don't know what to put as my accomplishments. I'm like, well, what about this? What about this? Like I was telling her, she's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. That's great advice. Actually, I might start doing that myself. So
yes, I encourage everybody to do it.
I love that. So after they have this list, how can someone really communicate their value and ask for those opportunities without feeling like they're an imposter or overstepping or whatever that looks like?
I think it depends on the situation. I think it depends on what you're asking for. If there is a job that's open and you think you're the best fit, then you go to whoever the hiring manager is and you say, hey, I would be a great fit for this job because here's my examples. Now, if it's just for like a raise or just because you want to be seen, I think you need to make sure you have that relationship with whoever you report to so that it's communicated and taken effectively. Because that, some people can perceive that like, well, why are you showing me this? Great, fantastic, good for you. That's your job. And then there's other people who can look at it like, wow, you did all these things. I don't think I knew that. Let's talk. So I think it's just about understanding, like gauging the room, knowing the room, having that relationship with who you report to and your HR manager and whoever else is in your department, so that you kind of have that launch to show your list, I guess, so to speak. Because if it's in the wrong opportunity, it may be taken and perceived differently than you probably hoped.
That's very true. Just in your experience, I know you mentioned earlier that you've typically been the only woman in a space in this
Yes.
in this industry. Have you seen kind of a difference between men and women as they ask for those opportunities, or whatever that looks like in the growth side for the career?
Yeah, I have actually, and I've seen it with the younger professionals. I oversee some editors myself. I oversee 4 editors that are in different industries and verticals, and one of them is young, and she still to this day, struggles with the confidence part of her role. And so I asked her one day, well, why do you not feel comfortable? You've been here for over a year. Well, previous editors. No. That has nothing to do with you. You're you. So I think that there is this subconscious that some women have that they're never going to be good enough. It's never going to work. And I don't know how to get over that or for them to get over that, other than you really need to find your person who can open certain doors for you so you're in the right place with the right people. Because I think that means more than anything. The company culture means more than anything. Making sure you report to a boss that appreciates you means more than anything. And so I think it's dialing it down and making sure that you are at the right place in your employment before you can do anything else.
That makes total sense. And I think when it comes like groups like WIT or like the forum, that's a great place to make those connections.
Yes.
It may not be in your current job. It may be your next job, but you don't know that at the time. But just having taken on those opportunities and participating in things like this and kind of learning how to navigate, which I think is so important. So I really appreciate you sharing all of the advice.
Yeah. And I always tell people, don't look at the company that they work for. Don't even really look at their title. Look at their journey. Because as we all know, in supply chain, everybody is moving jobs right and left. They were at this company, now they're at this company, and they were promoted, or now they're over here. So you just never know. You never know where they're going to land, where that works for you. Like, somebody could work at this company. Oh, I don't like that company. I'm never going to work there. I don't like their CEO, whatever the case is. And then they change jobs. All of a sudden, that becomes a very good contact for you.
That's very true. And that's building those relationships is so key. So key. I know I mentioned the word earlier, sponsor. So what's the distinction between mentoring and sponsoring? Why does that really matter for someone trying to move into a leadership position?
Yeah, we talk about this a lot because I don't know how I don't want to use the word important, but how readily available there are sponsors these days. To my knowledge and from my history and my, based off of what I've seen, sponsors are there and they will literally help move mountains for you. I will look at your resume. I will get you the job interview. I will, hey, you should enroll in this class and I'll help pay for it even. Like there are sponsors that are very much involved as your person in the industry. And then there are your mentors who just provide guidance. They're not going to tell you what you should or should not do, but they're there to provide the guidance and the education and that if I were you, this is what I would do moment. I think they can be very confusing, yet they're very different. And I think, nowadays everybody is more with the mentor because mentors change. Mentors change their own jobs. And I
Sure.
think that's something to consider when you have a person or a group of people in your industry that you latch onto, that they're also people too, and they're, things change in their worlds as well, but it shouldn't change your networking relationship.
That's very true. And I think just from my own experience and understanding mentorship a little bit from working on the WIT side, is that a sponsor is more formal.
Yes.
Where it's very structured and like this is your A to B to C path. And a mentorship, I think, is more informal, but also more reciprocal. I know you mentioned that earlier when your answers. I think it should be. I think we can all learn from each other, and I think that helps leadership on both ends to kind of help each other grow in their various roles. So I appreciate that distinction from you as well.
Your explanation is
Well, I've been learning. I've been networking and learning. So what do you think separates an average mentor from one who really changes the course of someone's career?
Yeah, I think the average mentor thinks that just an introduction is good enough. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's all you need. But I feel mentors walk alongside you along the way. It's almost like a hand holding. They continue to check in. How did that new job go? Do you like it? Are you looking around? Did you ask for that raise? I think they're more invested personally. And even if they have nothing to gain out of it, I think it's just pure, I'm trying to help. One of our speakers, our closing keynote, is Wanda Johnson from Deloitte. And I hunted her down to be our closing keynote because I spent about a couple of different lunches with her at different shows. And just the way she talked, I was like sucked in. I was like, I don't want to go to work. I just want to follow you around and listen to you all day. Can I do that? And so that's when it was the aha moment. Like there are truly women out there who really, truly want to help. They really, truly want to be the person you lean on and go to, and they will hold your hand the whole way. So they have more invested in it than just, I'll make a connection for you, but I'm busy.
Yeah.
We're all busy.
It's true. I think you can tell those people pretty soon in your networking relationship.
Yeah.
So that's, yes, totally agree. On the same page. So as you work with supply chain and trucking, what are you seeing really industry-wide when it comes to companies that are building more inclusive workplace cultures that really can focus on that peer-to-peer or mentorship relationships?
I see a lot of companies, and I see this with our award winners when they submitted a lot of their submissions. A lot of companies are enabling women and men to create different initiatives within the company. So these initiatives are designed to provide some kind of a workforce training tool. I've seen initiatives where they've implemented some, maybe they're in the material handling industry, and so they work alongside robots, some kind of initiative that trains their employees to work alongside these robots so they don't feel like their job is in jeopardy. And I've seen a lot of initiatives where they've opened up the doors to say, hey, HR is not just about hiring and firing. Let's peel back the onion a little bit more and figure out how to really provide actual human resources. That was, I think, the main theme that I saw from a lot of these winners who submitted nominations for our Women in Supply Chain Forum Award, because there were so many people out there, all different titles, marketing managers and finance, and they're all struggling with the same things. And that's just, how do I get more women involved, and how do I advance in my career, and how do we become more diverse? And so a lot of these companies are kind of giving those opportunities back to their people and saying, look, I will support you, go create it, and I'll make it happen. And I don't think I've seen that ever until like recently within the last year or two. And so it's been really kind of cool to see a lot of these companies say, I really want to become diverse and gender neutral and equal. I just don't know how to do it, but I'm going to hire somebody who can help me, or I'm going to give them the tools and resources to develop it. And I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, that sounds very cool. Yes. And I love that you're seeing that across your winners. I bet you get so much good information about how things are moving when you get to read those applications and decide who should be recognized.
Yes.
Do you have any steps that they can really take for recruitment or retention in supply chain or trucking in particular?
So I haven't seen any formal steps, like a plan or anything. But I think what people need to do is sit back and, every company is different. So what works for a trucking company may not work for a software and technology provider. And I think it's important for those people when they're creating these programs to step back and really outline what they're trying to achieve. Because even though the goals are the same, how you get there is going to be very different. And what's involved is very different. So I think it's just planning out what you feel you want to achieve out of it, and then making sure you have the right people on board to kind of help you get there, and know that you're not doing it by yourself. Nobody is asking every CEO to come up with these plans by themselves. Like, that's just not how that works. And so I think the first step is really honing in on that plan, like create a business plan, and figure out how you make that happen, and give yourself some goals and some deadlines. And I think the other question is, or not the other question, but a lot of what I'm seeing, companies come forward, or some of these even women come forward, and they say, yeah, I can't do this because my company just won't invest in the money. They won't invest in it. They don't believe in it. And I think that goes back to what I keep saying, like, go find the company that believes in it. That's where you belong. Because there are companies that don't believe gender diversity is a thing. They don't believe it's important. And that's just the nature of how the world works. So,
sure. But I think that's not just our industry. I think that's probably everywhere, depending on the culture of the company. Like you said, that culture is so important. You hear that kind of buzzword culture a lot, but it's true. If you don't have those folks to advocate and make sure that everyone's has the same opportunities, I think it's important to focus on that. And those are questions you can ask even in a job interview. As you're if you're thinking about moving, that's a fair question. Tell me about your culture. What does that look like?
Totally fair.
So is there anything systematically that you think should happen in supply chain or trucking in general to really accelerate women's advancement in various careers?
I think systematically doing what we are doing right now will keep doing what we're doing now is working, and I think it will continue to work. I think, when I launched the award during COVID, I did feel very alone. There were people who emailed me, why are you doing this? Why are you creating a problem? I'm not creating a problem. I'm trying to solve a problem. And I think that, it's hard for me to admit that as somebody who is excited about this, but, there's always going to be those naysayers that don't believe in what you're doing is right. And I think it's just systematically, it takes all of us to make sure that everybody is educated and everybody understands how to be open-minded and everybody understands how to be flexible. And what worked in the 90s doesn't work now. And we're not asking everybody to say we should be, only hiring women. No, you still hire for the job. You still hire the right person for the job, but make sure you consider women as part of that equation. Make sure you consider Donna, who's sitting at the head table, who always raises her hands. Make sure you make a meeting with her. Find out what she has to say. She's very, inquisitive. And I think that systematically it takes all of us, every single one of us, men and women.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially in industries where it's, what we say, male populated. We need us all to be successful. So, are you, as you review kind of all of the submissions for your recognitions, are you noticing any trends, particularly when it comes to formalized mentorship programs or the peer-to-peer connection type things happening?
Yes, I see a lot of that being built and developed within their own companies. And so they're creating programs in their companies that allow men and women to have a formal kind of promotional opportunity. They focus on hiring internally versus externally first, and they kind of it's all equal. And I feel like that's not really something that's been a thing. I know in my own company, we like to hire within and promote from within. It's kind of an unwritten standard. Mm-hmm. But again, we don't have an initiative that says, this is how we promote people. This is how we get people to that point. And I think a lot of these companies have that plan now. They're creating those departments or those programs, And, there's training involved. It's continuous training. We don't do, yearly annual reviews. We do what's called continuous education. So every couple months, I'll meet with my team individually and say, okay, let's talk about the thing we had problems with 2 months ago. And I think a lot of companies need to have the continuous education part of that initiative. I'm seeing a lot more of it now, and I'm here for all of it.
Oh my God, I'm so glad to hear that, because it is, even as we talked about earlier, you could do something today and then you don't talk about it a year from now. You're like, I don't even remember that was an issue.
Yeah.
You don't think it's an issue, until a year later. You're like, how can I fix that if I don't know?
Must have blocked it out.
Yeah, so I think I love that continuous improvement, and I'm happy to hear that other companies are doing that too.
Yes.
So good. Other companies who are on the call today, hopefully you're listening, because it does go a long way, and people can change. Be better and worse. If something's not working, let's fix it. How do we fix it now? Not 6 months from now or next year when we talk again.
Right.
So I love that. So I'm looking through some questions we have. Are you seeing any patterns as you cover this industry, both as your co-founder of Women's Supply Chain Forum and your editor-in-chief? Any patterns where you see women successfully moving into leadership roles?
Yes. In fact, I see it not so much in your smaller companies, because I do see it but in a lot of your larger companies too, like your Nikes of the world, your Procter and Gamble's of the world. These large companies are hiring women in roles that they've probably never had a female before, or it's been some time. There's been a couple nominations that came through of these winners. They were the first female VP of their company ever to date. And their company's been around for 40 years or whatever the case is. I've talked to women who they were the first African-American. They were the first, whatever the case is. And I love that, because that does show that we're moving the needle a little bit to the point where people are starting to realize that, women can be VPs, women can be directors, women can be CEOs. And to those CEOs out there, those female CEOs of your women-led organizations, that's moving the needle. That's what it's about. That's getting rid of all the stigma and moving forward and saying, you know what, you didn't want to give me a chance, I'll take care of it. Got it. So I am seeing it. I think it's refreshing.
I totally agree. I see things pop up on LinkedIn, and there was one, I can't remember the trucking company, but it was a young lady who's now the CEO of her family's trucking company. And have you seen it too? Right.
I know what you're talking about.
I just read it and I was like, yeah, good for you.
Yes.
Do you think it's intentional on kind of these, especially the bigger companies, really putting women into these leadership roles, or it just happens to be?
Part of me hopes it's not intentional, because I want people to do this for the right reasons. I want you to put a female in that spot because she's earned it, because she's good at it, because she's going to kick butt in it, not because you're trying to prove a point on a company plan. I think for some of these family organizations, it is intentional, but it's still great, because the fact that, the father is including the daughter in those conversations and bringing her to work and showing her the ropes, that is intentional, but that's intentional in the right way. And so I think, I hope more companies are being, they're doing it for the right reasons. I just hope that.
I think that's a good point. Like you said, you don't want it to just, I don't know, as a woman in the industry, I don't want to check a box. I want to earn it.
I want to earn it, and I want to be deserving of it, because you earned it. So
it circles back to, believing that we've earned it, and we're
Make that list, ladies. Make that list.
I love the list. I'm going to do that myself. So I know we've got about 15 minutes left. So last couple of questions I wanted to touch on with you is really someone who's listening, or as we post this later on, who wants to find a mentor. And what's really the first concrete thing that they should do this week to get started?
This week, you should find us both on LinkedIn and follow our organizations on LinkedIn and become a part of conversations. And I always tell people, follow Women in Supply Chain Forum on LinkedIn, and then go through who follows us, because I guarantee you there's somebody that's going to be like, that's somebody I need to know. And then reach out to me and I'll make sure you get to know that person. And if they're going to be in person with us in November, then you have to come so that we can all be together. And I feel like that LinkedIn is such an important tool for finding somebody. I have found people just by going into the search and typing in certain words. I mean, I don't know that people utilize LinkedIn like that. I use it for a search function sometimes. If I'm trying to find the right person for a speaking role or to interview, or I need to talk to somebody in your company because you had an initiative and I have to talk to you like right now, I will go into LinkedIn and I will use the search button and I will type in a keyword and it'll populate all the people that have job roles, titles, or some form of that term in their bio. And I think that is the best tool anybody can use. And obviously join associations, be a part of the conversations. Really get to know people in your industry and in your company and piggyback on what's out there, but be a little vocal. Don't be afraid to reach out to people.
Well, I think something like LinkedIn is a safer space than
Yes.
hopping into that circle of people.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a little uncomfortable, and you can delete it. That's the beauty of it. You know, you can go ahead and delete your comment if you're like, that doesn't sound right, or I'm not comfortable.
And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Try another one, you know, find another conversation to join. So I think that's great advice. And I never use that LinkedIn in that way either. I always search for people or a company. But even LinkedIn, I mean, you follow someone and they're like, here are other people that do this exact same thing.
I know.
And, you know, so like, I found connections everywhere. Yes, 10 minutes a day. Go on.
Yeah.
We are not sponsored by LinkedIn, but, you know, it's a great professional tool. I totally agree with you. So on the flip side, as someone who's ready to become a mentor for the first time, what's your advice for getting started as a mentor? Should they reach out or wait, or what does that look like?
I think they should definitely reach out. I have told some of the people that I consider mentors to others in the industry, not so much to me, but to others, you know, maybe post something on LinkedIn that invites people to come find you or to message you. And I think that's part of the challenge for a lot of women, and it doesn't matter your age, is that first step.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you're in a new relationship. It's kind of scary. You know, what do I do? And I've always told mentors, put yourself out there first, because at the end of the day, you've gone through this already. You know what this stage is like, and it's scary. So put yourself out there first and invite people to come find you, and then say, hey, message me, connect with me, and then you initiate the conversation. And I feel like that I've seen a couple mentors do that I've talked to, and they came to the forum last year. They brought who they were connecting with, and then that person found two other mentor people, which worked out because then she ended up getting a new job after the new year. So it's just again, it's incestuous. We're all like kind of in this boat together, you know, and I just love it. So I just feel like mentors should take the first step, make the first move, and put yourselves out there a little bit.
I love that. I think, like you said, it might not, even mentors aren't always extroverted either.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
I think that's great advice. And I know kind of on the women in trucking side, we've got a couple different ways that folks can do that. We've got an online forum that members can post a question. There was one last week, somebody was having trouble or just going through it. And she got probably 10, 15 people say, hey, reach out to me, connect with me here, do this. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's what this is for. You know, and you see those connections happen in real time. We also have the networking groups I mentioned, and we do have a one-on-one program. So on the women in trucking side, there's lots of ways for our members to really make those connections. And then the networking groups might be a really good opportunity for someone that's not as comfortable, connecting one-on-one. So I think there's so many different ways that you can connect group-wise and in person. And I think organizations like ours are so important to help those connections happen.
And I feel like it's easier for a lot of women when it's virtually like that. I think back to the day when I was, in college, and I was going to events, and I was the only female, and I'd maybe see one other female. And then it's like, do I go and ask if somebody's sitting next to her? Do I, you just don't know what to do. It's so awkward. It's weird, you don't want to be the weird girl, So I think it's just when it's virtual like that, it kind of eliminates a lot of that anxiety, I feel like, for a lot of people who may not feel completely comfortable.
I totally agree. And actually, I was kind of bummed out. There was a call earlier this week, I think, or today, and I really wanted to join. It was like the Women in Supply Chain Social Club or something. They were doing a get together. And I was like, oh man, I already had a meeting scheduled. So I'm like, maybe next time I can join. And it's so fun to watch these groups connect in real time and provide that support for each other and advice, I think.
Completely.
So if there's anything, I know I haven't looked at our questions here. Before I ask you the very last question, I know Courtney was monitoring our questions coming in. We'll see if there's anything before I leave you with the last question. Oh, there she is.
Hello. It doesn't conversation. Had any questions come through during the conversation, but if anybody in the audience does have any questions, now would be the time to throw them in the chat.
Well, as we're waiting, we may not have any others because we did have talked through so much and some different advice, which I think is really great. And I'm taking some away. I've got my pen to start my list after we're done on our call today. For those that are watching, what's the one thing you'd want everyone to walk away with today from our conversation, or really mentorship and networking in general?
I think the one thing I would tell people, because this is what I would tell myself, is it's okay to feel however you feel, and it's okay to be however you are. Because there are so many women who get nervous. I know we've touched on this, or they don't know what the next steps are, or what the right thing to do is, or I don't want to advocate for myself because I don't want people to think I'm bragging. There's no really right or wrong. You just kind of have to do it and lean on the community behind you, because we're kind of all feeling and sharing that same emotions. So I think it's just that, because that's what I would want somebody to tell me.
Well, I love that's great advice. And now you mentioned connecting with both of us on LinkedIn. Where is it your name? Where do we find you? All the things?
Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn, Marina Mayer. You can follow us on LinkedIn Women in Supply Chain Forum. And then our website is womeninsupplychainforum.com. And if you have any questions about anything, you can find me offline, or you can email me at mmayer@iron.markets. But I'm also listed on our foodlogistics.com site and stceexec.com. So you can find me in so many different places.
I love that. All right, Courtney, do we have anything come in? Otherwise, we may be able to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm grabbing the links to both of your LinkedIn's right now.
Wonderful.
The comments make it easy for everybody who's here. But if that's it and we don't have any questions coming through, then we'll see you guys next time. Jenny, Marina, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.